Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. We have a Fender Stratocaster, made in Mexico, Players Series. Finally, a Mexican guitar that we were able to set up. Those tellies, forget it, at least in left-handed anyways. And this one I was a little worried about too, because we were having some issues at first. But luckily, Buddy got her all straightened out at Long McQuaid, and we're good, but we're out of adjustment room on the saddles, so we're going to have to bring the pins up higher and then lower the saddles, and then we got plenty of room. Anyway, so they did a full polish job on the frets for me. They are smooth on the sides and nice and shiny and silky. Bending strings on this thing is a dream, man. Woo! Anyways, whammy bar, of course. It's a Strat after all. It's a used one, so somebody lost the little tiny spring that's supposed to go down the hole. Well, you know what, to be honest, I'm kind of glad they did, because I was going to order some, and I made my own out of a couple of springs out of a couple of Bic lighters. I actually ended up having to take, in the end, two of them and put them together to make one, because one of the things is, this thing's really deep hole for the threads, and the whammy bar was like, nah, to the point where it like wouldn't even go past the control. I'm like, okay, well, there should be a stopping point here. There's some things about the Mexican guitars you really should know about if you don't already. But anyway, so I guess it was about 1.5 inches long is what I did the spring length for both springs, and then just pushed them together to make one spring. Down the hole they went, and it gives me just enough tension that this is not going to vibrate, nor does the spring, so you don't get that chimey, springy sound, right? Now, it's not going to go rock solid, which I don't really care. I don't really use the whammy bar anyways, but because I'm kind of really severely OCD, the whammy bar has to be on the guitar, and this way I don't ever lose it either at the same time. But if I ever do want to use the whammy, at least I can. We did deck the bridge. Another problem with Mexican telly Strats is they're coming with the bridge just cocked way up at the back. You're only supposed to have 1/8 of an inch if you're going to have it as a floating bridge. This thing was like way up there. We had to really drive the screws in, and there's actually 3 springs in this thing from the factory, but they got to be pretty weak springs. So there are some pros and cons here that we're talking about, so you know, I'm going to give you the positives. The tuners are not bad, though they're a little on the touchy side. They're not bad. I think down the road I'll probably upgrade the tuners with some really nice high ratio turning tuners that are going to be much more stable. But otherwise, these tuners do work reasonably well, so can't really complain there. I love the fit and finish on the guitar. Now, this was a used one too, and it's been loved a little bit. It's got a couple of little marks on the back of the body here and right in here, so I mean, nothing major. Otherwise, it's pretty much, you know, perfect almost. They did a beautiful job polishing the frets on this thing for me. I cannot believe how incredibly smooth these things are to bend. It's like, oh man, just, I can't even describe the feeling of the frets. It's just so amazing. And even the ends, the edges are just A1. But anyways, they also put brand new strings on for me too. Now, here's the kicker. You want to know what I paid for this thing? Okay, first let me tell you, brand spanking new. These things are $1,089 in Canada, okay? Players Series, made in Mexico Strat. I paid $650 because it was rented a number of times. There's absolutely zero damage to the frets. No little pock marks, no dents, nothing. So the lefty guys who were renting it really either didn't play it much or whatever. But yeah, somebody tried to do their own setups, I guess, and it didn't really work well because this thing was buzzing really bad at first. And so we did have to do a complete full setup, and the radius was way out of whack, so we had to fix that too. But otherwise, I mean, it's set up proper now. But definitely have to do some of my own tweaking now that I have it home. And it is working well right now, so I'm not going to quite mess with it yet. But I am going to lift the pins up, probably a full turn each, maybe even 2. And then this way I can lower the saddles back down to get me more adjustability and help me to just slightly lower the action a little bit more. Because right now, I mean, it's not a mile high or anything. It's not what you call high action. It's more set up to like a medium action. It's not low like I have a lot of my guitars. A lot of my guitars, the string is just barely over the fret, like just, right? And they don't buzz, even when I get aggressive. This thing, it's more like a medium type of setup, and it's still really nice. And I do enjoy playing it even with the medium setup, so I may try and keep it close to that, or just a smidge lower would really be nice for this thing. Now, I gotta tell you about Strats though. They are friggin' amp picky. If you're trying to get a really good sound out of a Strat, I mean, you're gonna go through a lot of amps before you'll find an amplifier that's gonna work, maybe 2 amps. And I'm gonna try and do a little bit about that in this video. But first, I think we need to play this thing. But so the negatives on this are basically the whammy bar system. You're going to need a longer spring because even the Fender ones are not going to be long enough to do a proper job with this thing. Also, by the way, it's a 3.5mm diameter thread. There's been a lot of issues with guys snapping the tremolo arms on these things, not just on the Mexicans, but also in the USA. Now, the USA ones are worse. They're only a 3mm thread. This is a 3.5. Okay, Fender used to do 5mm right across the board. Didn't matter if it was USA, Mexico, made in China, made in Indonesia. They're all 5. But for some reason they got out of doing that on the USAs and Mexicos, and they've gone really skinny. They also did the locking system where you just pushed it in and it locked. Problem with that is, as the groove track wears, it gulls, and yep, you're not getting your bar back out, and that was a problem too. So I guess maybe they got out of that. I'm not sure. Maybe you guys can tell me. But I was quite surprised at even how far down this thing would go without that spring in there from the factory. Like I said, it's a used guitar. Somebody lost the spring right away, I guess. But yeah, the nuts cut perfectly fine. No issues there. But yeah, let's give this thing a go. I'm plugged in right now to my Vox DA15, and we're gonna crank stuff because hey, we got a weekend of fun here. I think we need to turn that down a little bit. That's the drive channel. Let's go to a clean channel. The Vox DA15 modeling amp. Now I've bypassed their effects, so I'm just basically using their amp models and with reverb. Have to lower that middle pickup a bit. So tone, both tone controls, volume, all maxed out there. Bass and mid and treble, they're all in the middle. Masters at 3, volumes at 1, gains at around 1. Let's go to a blues channel here. Let's get some distortion going. back to that drive channel. Not too shabby. Okay, now I want to throw this onto the orange amp as well. We'll do the clean channel on that thing first. On the orange amp, to be honest, I really like the clean channel on the orange amp. And, you know, the blues channel is actually pretty good on the Vox. Let's hit the dirty channel. That's a lot of gain. Half gain. I think half gain is actually a better setting, to be honest. Keeps things a lot cleaner and punchier. Anyways, so for mellower tones of clean, yeah, definitely the Vox. More punchy, crispy, chimey, definitely the orange. Anyways, okay, let's talk about this thing. Now, overall, I gotta say, I really like the guitar, and it was definitely worth the $650. Way better than spending $1,089, let me tell you. Now, the tuners, well, they're not bad. They're a little on the sensitive side, so I think we need some really high sensitivities tuners as far as ratio goes. We need higher turning ratios, so this way we can turn and turn forever and finally get things dialed in and it'll stay better. Strings also need to break in a little bit more too, because yeah, they're still stretching a bit. They've been stretched a lot. As far as the tremolo goes, even with that little tiny spring, if you buy a brand new one and you get the little tiny spring, well, that spring is not going to be long enough, trust me. You're going to want to make your own spring, because yeah, those things are just short little snots. And I tried a little trick where I took a piece of threaded rod, the same length as what that spring would be, right, uncompressed. That didn't work. It was still too deep in, okay? This is the Mexicans. I don't know what the American ones are like, but this is the Mexican stuff. And they're all the same. Anyways, As far as I know they are anyways. At least for lefties. Maybe the righties are a little bit better. Who knows? But I think they probably just drilled the hole down too far, and then, you know, they threaded it the way they did. And there's a lot of thread on this rod too, and I'm not actually threaded that far in. And I've actually got about 3/4 of an inch, I'd say, over top my tone knob. And I've got a little bit of stiffness in here thanks to the springs that I'm using. Like I said, I took some springs from Bic lighters, but 1.5 inches each, combined them together as one, and it worked perfect because I didn't have the spring for this. And yep, even Amazon's out of stock. Long McQuaid had nothing in stock for those springs. So it's kind of like, well, I need to do something, because otherwise that tremolo was very floppy in there. Even though the threads are proper cut, and that part's fine, it's still a little on the floppy side. I don't know why. But it also went, like I said, down too deep. It wouldn't stop until it was like at the very, very end. And by then it's like, yeah, you're not getting past the tone control again the second time around. So yeah, there's definitely some things that they need to improve on the Mexicans, but I'm really not too concerned about it. Like I said, I really don't use the whammy, but I do want the tremolo there, and I want it so that it's also not rattling and chiming my strings on me. Kind of like the springs, right? At the back, we decked the bridge on this, so those springs are super tight and they're not going to vibrate on us, so we don't even have to put anything in the back side to stop it, to dampen them. They're not chiming through, so hey, again, that's a really good thing. Nuts cut great. Fretwork on these things is actually really good. Even the one that's still hanging up at Long McQuaid that's a lefty, I checked it out and the fretwork is really good on it as well. Just that these are polished, so they're a lot smoother than what you're going to get before you polish them. So might want to get the D'Addario polishing kit for frets. I actually bought myself a kit today. It comes with like 5 sheets, and then you can polish the frets yourself, and baby smooth. Like, they're just incredible. Night and day difference in string bending, let alone the feel of them. It's just, oh, it's just so amazing. Anyways, polished frets work. Yeah, overall though, the rest of the guitar is great. As far as weight goes, it's got some heft to her. I haven't weighed it yet, but rough guess, I'd say somewhere around, I don't know, 7-ish, 8 pounds. Somewhere in that area. It's definitely, I don't think it's anywhere near 10. The wood grain is really nice, you know, on the maple neck. We do have our skunk strip in the back, of course, as always. And I believe the fretboard on this would be rosewood. I have not checked the online specs, but in looking at the wood, it looks like it's rosewood. But we can confirm that by just putting the link down below for you to go check out the Long McQuaid website. Because I haven't even looked into that part because I really didn't care. I actually don't care about fretboard wood. You know why? Because it doesn't have anything to do with your tone, right? Same as your fingers. The tone is not in your fingers. Amp, speaker, guess what? Big difference, right? So yeah, I'm not worried too much of what this is, but I'm pretty sure it probably is rosewood. 22 frets. These are like a medium jumbo, but they're not jumbo, they're like a medium jumbo. So they got some beef to them, so you do have to be very light touchy. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to be playing out of tune so fast it isn't even funny. So yeah, you're going to have to definitely practice up on playing a lot lighter. And the strings on this are 942s. Yeah, overall, I think definitely worth the $650 I paid. You know, I mean, if I was going to buy one brand spanking new, yeah, sure, I'd pay the $1,089. What choice do I have? That's the retail on them, right? Compared to American Strats, the Mexicans seem to be doing a lot more better. People are more favoring the Mexican Strats, even more nowadays than they have in the USA stuff. But, you know, it's to each their own, right? I would give this thing, I'm happy to give this thing a solid 4 out of 5. And it is losing marks for not being perfect. Tuners are a little on the sensitive side. And yes, we do definitely have to still do some tweaking here on the bridge, but I'm pretty sure if we do at least a full turn on each screw, that will give us enough that we can actually lower these saddles a bit to give us some adjustability back. Because wood moves and shifts over the winter, right? And summer months and so on, heat and humidity, right? So we need that playability room in case we have to adjust, because sometimes it's just a truss rod adjustment, but sometimes you actually have to tweak the heights too. but still maintaining the radius, because you have to maintain that radius. But yeah, other than that, I think once the strings break in, she'll definitely hold a solid tune a lot better. As far as after doing all that, let's check our tuning and see where we're at, and then we can get out of here, because I got more videos for you guys today. So the E is actually dropped down a little bit, which I kind of expected. A is on, D is on, G is out just a little bit. B is actually up a little hair. And the high E is just up a hair. So overall, not bad. I mean, they did redo the intonation on this thing to make sure it was good, and it's actually pretty bang on. So that's definitely reassuring. Yeah, she's good. So anyway, yeah, finish and all that. I'd say, you know, is a used guitar, but brand new still. I've looked at the brand new one, and yeah, they're really well done. So I wouldn't worry too much there. But anyway, so that's where I'm at with this. You know, check the link in the video description below, because that will be for the Long McQuaid website. I am in Canada after all, so if you are Canadian and you're thinking about a Players Series, left or right-handed, you're definitely going to have to do some setup, obviously, from the factory. Like, the bridges are cocked way up at the back, so you're going to have to definitely do a full setup on it, so just be aware of that. Mexican factory did not do a very good job of it, so you will have to do your own. And I would recommend the D'Addario polishing papers to polish those frets up if you want really baby smooth and just gliding. It's so incredible what a polish job on the frets will actually do for a guitar. This is crazy. But anyways, overall though, great guitar. Let me know what you guys think. Two different amps. Now I do also have the Black Star back again, and this time it's staying here. I'm renting it for now, but I told them, you know, today you're not having it back. I'm gonna just buy it. I'm gonna rent it until it's paid off, because it'll probably take me like 1 or 2 paychecks, because I just have other bills too, right? And but for $350, I can't say no to a hybrid tube amp, and I really like it. But I'll say this, I do not like this guitar on the Black Star. I will do a separate demo video for that, because, you know, I want to keep the time under control, right? But anyways, other than that, that's what we've got for you guys. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. You got questions too, comments down below, and we'll see you in the next one. Ciao.